Okay. So we're going to edit some of this down, but so I want to tell you about monetizing your knowledge. And I'm not talking about selling some digital course or some digital product. I am talking about taking what you personally know, something that you're excited about and you know about, and turning that into, and I'm going to go live in a different place here. Let's see here. Because I need to start doing more on Instagram, and I haven't. So we're going to go live on Instagram, and we'll see how that works out. We shall see how that works out. And like I said, all this is going to be edited out. So, and nobody's here right now anyway. So it's all good. It is all good. There we go. All right. So there we go. Due to pause to poor connection. What is that all about? All right. It's not here on YouTube. And if you are here and you just jumped in and you're brand new, just say hey and feel free to ask any questions. I don't know why we're having issues here. That's kind of crazy that we would be having issues here. But pause due to poor connection. I don't understand what that's all about. That's weird to me. But anyway, like I said, a lot of this is going to be edited out. But so here's the deal. If you and I'm speaking to our 40 plus crowd here, if you have something that you're interested in, right? It can be a profession, it can be a personal problem you've overcome that you've become passionate about, or it can just be a passion or a hobby. Either way, if that happens where you are you find something that you're interested in talking about, and you know the interesting thing about um, talking about these things is you don't know whether or not they're going to have any sort of, you don't know whether or not they're going to have an audience. The only way for you to know is to first look, go out there, find out what subjects people are creating content about, and then find out if there's a major interest in that subject. You would be amazed some of the most specific and narrowed down subjects that people are making content about, and there is a demand for because they watch it over and over and over again. And so that's really what you're doing. And I'm not talking about creating social media content per se, because the thing about social media content that has become a big problem is that social media is primarily, and I don't consider YouTube social media, by the way, but social media has become primarily a entertainment and distraction platform. Whereas YouTube, think about YouTube. When you log on to YouTube, you don't just randomly scroll videos. You usually type in what you want to see, and then a video about that will pop up. Now, after a period of time, the YouTube algorithm will say, okay, they like content about this. Let me give them more content about this. And if you're one of those people who is consistently producing content, and I'm not talking every single day, but if you're somebody who's producing 1 or 2 videos a week on a subject, and if you're saying to yourself, I can't possibly do that, yes, you can. Are you going to repeat yourself? Absolutely. And that doesn't matter, because you've got to think of any sort of content that you create. Because I heard Alex Hormozy say this once. And if you don't know who Alex Hormozy is, he runs a portfolio of companies of $250 million a year. And one of them that he is 50% owner of is a platform called Skool. Now, my group, the Creator Cashflow Circle, lives on Skool, as do 190,000 other communities on Skool. So when you create content, you want to be careful where you create content. You don't want to just put it out there because a platform has lots of overall users. You want to go where your people are, and you want to fish in the pond where they are swimming. So think of your audience as fish. You've got to know what they want to eat, right? You got to know what bait to give them, what they're interested in, and then you have to do it in a place and a time where the fish are biting. And so, in order for you to do that, you got to do a little research. But what we're finding is that social media is becoming less and less of a place where that happens, where YouTube has always been an interest based platform. That's why it converts so well. That's why it performs so well. That's why it pays so well. Is you give people what they want, they will naturally want to consume more of it. And then if you talk about the problems that your knowledge is able to solve for people, then there's going to be a certain number of those people who step up and say, I want more. And more importantly, because YouTube is not primarily an interactive platform other than the comments, and you're welcome to leave comments here if you want, because YouTube is not primarily an interactive platform, you create a space where they can go and they can ask all the questions they want and they can get all the help they want. And so you're introducing them to something that you own. Now, granted, you don't own a YouTube channel, they can take it away from you, but you're much less likely to have problems maintaining a YouTube channel than you are a social media platform like TikTok. For example, when I first started on TikTok, I started about, I think I started in 2019, but I effectively quit TikTok in early 2024, long before all the craziness that's going on now with the US owning of the platform and demonetizing people and this craziness. I got out earlier than that because I realized that TikTok is the lowest quality and the least valuable audience on the internet. People don't come there to solve problems. They do not come there to educate themselves or learn things. They come there to be distracted and entertained from probably a life that they're not that happy with or problems that they just want to escape from. That's all social media is for most people, is an escape, because most people do absolutely nothing with the content that they consume. And one of the things that I learned a couple of years ago was that if you're going to consume content of any sort of media, the only way that you make it worth your while and you don't make it a waste of time is that if you're learning something and it's educational content that you're creating, that you actually act on what you learn. Because if you don't act on what you learn, information is not power. If you're my age, you may remember Schoolhouse Rock, right? It was this thing that was on ABC television, and it was in between the cartoons, right? And they were like public service announcements, but they educated us, and they had little songs, and they taught us English, and they taught us math, and they taught us all these different things, language and everything. They just taught us a whole bunch of stuff. But what they would constantly say is that information is power. And they lied to us, because information isn't power. Information is just data. And if you don't do anything with that data, if that data or that information doesn't change your behavior and change your results, then it's just entertainment and distraction. It did you no good. You might as well have gone and watched a reality TV show, or you consumed it as what we call infotainment or edutainment, which is you think that you're being educated, but all you're really doing is being entertained. Because if you don't act on information that you receive, it's like you didn't even receive it. You know what I'm saying? So, um, so that's all that we're talking about is finding a subject that you like talking about. Like, I like talking about this. That's why I'm here. That's why I do this, and that's why I don't need notes. I because I've been doing this a long time. I've been going live on the internet for several years now. And the reason I can talk about this and there aren't big gaps in my speech and a lot of ums and uhs and things like that. There's still some of those, but the reason those things don't exist is because I have studied this subject. And most of the time, if you are interested in something, you're going to study it a lot. Or if you're good at something, you have studied it a lot or you have done it a lot to become good at it. And when you talk about creating content, rather than worrying about whether or not the platform is going to pay you for how many views you get on that content, why don't you focus on just the right people seeing what you have so they can raise their hand and they can say, "Hey, I'm interested in this subject. I want to learn more, or I want you to help me with this subject." And that's all we're talking about. We're talking about creating content that will bring people to a place that you actually own, like a school group, which is a private community that you would own because you pay for it. And then only the people that are interested in the subjects that you teach and the problems that you talk about that you can solve, only those people are going to show up on that school group. And believe it or not, I saw a recent stat that said there were over 100 communities on School. I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry. There were 22 communities on School that were earning over $100,000 a month. Now, I know that sounds like a crazy number, and I've got all kinds of easy ways that I can prove that that is real. But more importantly, the average person, whether they do content or not, the average person is making about $1,400 a month with a school group. And these are figures that are old. They've probably been updated and that number's probably increased. But the average person with a school community is making about $1,300 a month. Now, if you have a 9 to 5, like most of us do, and I do still, uh, that's a $16,000 raise. I challenge you to go into your boss and say, "Hey, I want to talk about only what I want to talk about a couple hours a week or a couple hours a day, or whatever. And I want to talk about that thing, and I want to talk to people that are only interested in that thing, and I want you to pay me an additional $16,000 a year." It's not going to happen. That is a pipe dream. But that is possible with a school group, because that's an average, and you can make a lot more than that. And as more and more people come to this platform, I liken it to, and you may have heard me say this before on my videos or on other lives that I've done on other platforms. I liken it to Microsoft in '82 or Facebook in 2008. We are so ahead of the curve right now with School that this is the best time to get started. You know that old saying about planting a tree. It's the best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago, and now the second best time to plant the tree is now. And now is the time just after the 30 years ago when it's good to start a school community. Because all really a school community is designed to do, and suddenly none of my markers work here. Let's see if I can find another marker that actually works. There we go. All a school community is supposed to do, logically, all a school community is supposed to do is get somebody from point A to point B. Now, um, there are other aspects of School which I think make it better than having a website or a landing page or a funnel or a squeeze page, whatever it is you want to call it. There's a lot of aspects about that that make School different, and that is connection, that is authenticity, and that's fun, right? Because a website is not fun. A landing page is not necessarily authentic because you're just trying to show the best, most perfect version of yourself. And landing pages and websites, they don't really gather connection because it's a one-way type of a conversation. But a school community, when you have a bunch of people inside of a school community, you have those people that are interested in the same subject. And so they gather to talk about that subject. If you think about even in real life, there's tons of communities that people pay to be a part of. Like if you own a business and you have a local chamber of commerce, you pay to be in the local chamber of commerce. Why? Because you want to network with other business leaders about ways that possibly you could collaborate, or maybe these business owners need your services. And so it's a way for you to network with other business owners. Same thing with Rotaries. It's with all kinds of social organizations, that have dues, social clubs that have dues. It's all the same thing. It is about connection and being around other people who share common interests. And that's all a school community is. But what school allows us to do is to make business fun, because you're talking with and to people that are interested in something where you are a subject matter expert. And before you say, I'm not a subject matter expert on anything, I'm not any sort of guru, or that's fine. School is not looking for those people. School is just looking for somebody who has a level of interest about a subject and some level of experience or expertise about a subject. That's all school is looking for. So if you paint, or if you train dogs, or if you hunt, or you camp, or you teach a language, or you teach parenting skills, or you teach AI, or you teach video editing, or you teach sales, you teach accounting, whatever it is you want to teach. You teach people how to get over divorce, or how to deal with menopause, or how to deal with deaths in the family, or how to deal with um, relatives and friends who have debilitating injuries or diseases and conditions. And all of these subjects are subjects that you can find school communities about. You can also find school communities about crafting and about drop shipping and about um, crocheting, about pet care, you name it. They're all over the place, they're everywhere. And again, the thing about school that has an advantage over YouTube is that in the beginning, you may or may not have a large following, but you don't need a large following to have a school community. All you have to do is create content to draw people to your school community. And the only people that are going to watch that content are people that are interested in that subject and they want to either learn more or they want to solve problems related to that thing. And solving problems is really just giving somebody a step-by-step process to get from point A to point B. That's all it is. I used to think businesses were these big, complicated things, and you needed teams, and you needed all this infrastructure, and you needed an office, and you needed a website, and you need space, and all of this stuff. But today, your knowledge can be a business. And as opposed to high ticket one on one services, you can create a community where people can come and they can partake of your knowledge and get your help in doing something. And then they can pay you on a monthly basis. And that can range. It could be $9 a month. It could be $99 a month. It could be $299 a month. It just depends on what it is someone is learning, how valuable it is to their lives, and how much they value it. And one of the things that I've learned is that you shouldn't try to make up somebody's mind for them what the value of something is. And I'll give you a perfect example. I know, tennis shoes or athletic shoes these days, they go for $250. Now, me personally, I would never spend that kind of money on athletic shoes. I wouldn't spend that kind of money on clothing. I wouldn't spend that money on, a weapon like a gun. I wouldn't do any of that. But I know people, especially here in Pennsylvania, they'll spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on guns and rifles and pistols. And I'm like, to me, not a good use of money. It's a depreciating asset and it can't help me do what I want, meet the goals that I want to accomplish. So to me, that's not worth it. But to other people, it is. And to some people, learning a language is worth $99 a month, or learning how to do learning how to become a good dad is worth $199 a month. Just getting to hang out with other dads who face the same problems that they do is worth that. Or learning how to brew your own beer is worth $49 a month. Or learning how to barbecue is worth $39 a month. Or learning how to become a good woodworker is worth $59 a month. There's lots and lots of communities like this that are out there that people are making money by hosting. And here's another thing: you don't even necessarily have to be the expert. If you just become the host of the party, you have the ability to also make money. Let me show you an example of that. And for this, I'm going to have to share my screen. So we're going to share the screen here. All right. So with this, and if you're on Instagram right now, you're not going to be able to see any of this. You'd have to come over to my YouTube channel to see what I'm talking about. But if you go to the discovery page on Skool, and by the way, this is the Skool platform. So the front looks kind of like Facebook. It's set up in a very simple interface. So you don't need to worry about whether or not you can program or you can code or anything like that. You don't need to worry about any of that stuff. But if you come over here to, let's say, discover communities, and let's say you want to learn modern calligraphy. Well, look at that. The number 3 community on the platform is a calligraphy school. It's 2 sisters, Jordan and Jillian, and they've got 1,000 members paying $9 a month. So that's pretty cool. Maybe you want to learn how to dance. You could go to Ina's Dance Academy, 446 members at $99 a month. Or maybe you have issues with menopause. If you're a woman, you want to find a community of people who are women who are able to stay in shape and maintain their health while going through menopause, losing weight, getting healthier, and regaining their confidence. 2,300 members at $37 a month. So that's pretty amazing. Or maybe you want to learn pickleball. You can actually learn sports in school communities, which to me was always one of the crazy things that you could do that with, was that you could learn, or people would pay to be in a community where they're going to learn something that they can only do in real life. They can't do what they're learning on the internet. They can only learn about it and then go do it in real life. And that's pickleball school. So you've got that. You've got AI. Like I said, you've got dance. This is a UFC community that was actually started by the current UFC champion, Tom Aspinall. He started at this community before he became the number 1 UFC fighter. Then you've got this one. This is a person who's acted in Stranger Things and Law and Order, and they have something called the Acting Lab. And this community is $199 a month. And it's with Tristan Spahn. Maybe you know who Tristan is. So he is an actor, and he's like All he wants is people that are interested in acting and they're 18 plus from North America or Europe. And so you get to upload auditions. He gets to evaluate your auditions and you get script libraries and all this for $199 a month. Cancel at any time. And this guy has 183 people in his group paying him basically $200 a month. So that's pretty cool, and I'm sure that's not his only source of income, but that's pretty darn cool that you can have that. And then what I was talking about before was being the host of the party. Think about these guys. These guys have a very large social media following, which again, you don't have to have that, but if you can see the School of Hard Knocks, and if you look at their stuff, their Instagram and their YouTube is huge, right? They've got 8.5 million followers. And what these guys do is they go around to different millionaires and successful people. They live in, I believe, the Los Angeles area. And they go around to these different places and they interview these different successful people. And then they put these interviews inside their community. And they have 6,500 members paying $49 a month. Or you could go the other way. You can either have a medium priced community or you could have a very small price community, which makes it almost a no brainer for people to get inside. So, one of my favorites, and I'm just learning this skill because I think it's just such a cool thing to be able to do, is AI filmmaking. And there is a guy in here, and you may have seen his ads on Instagram or Facebook. Where is Jamie's AI filmmaking? Oh, that's interesting that he has not got the number one community. Oh, yes, it is. There it is. So he's got 7,500 members in his community, and it's only $5 a month. So if you want to learn how to make AI films from a guy who has been in, there's Jamie right there. If you want to learn how to make AI films from a guy who has been in the film industry and has a film degree, then you can learn how he does this. And he's even got GPTs that help you write scripts and help you come up with images. And he teaches you how to make AI films, how to actually create moving images, animated images on AI. And when you use AI to do that, it just opens up the floodgates of creativity because there's nothing off limits to you. If you want to film a gorilla in a tutu jumping across the Grand Canyon, you can do that with AI. And he teaches you how to do that. But he's taken an opposite approach where some people have a free community and then they have tiers inside of it. He has a paid only community, but he runs ads. And by running ads, he trains the algorithm to find only the people that would be willing to pay $5 a month. And so he's got 7,500 members paying just $5 a month. And because it's $5 a month, people rarely leave because they're certainly getting $5 worth of value every month out of that community. And these are just some of the examples. These are just some of the examples that are out there of what's possible with Skool communities. And again, all we're talking about doing is helping somebody get from point A to point B. That's all we're helping people do. Get from point A to point B, solve a problem. Like the problem that I solve is for people that don't know what Skool is, I can help somebody start a Skool group in 3 days or less. 3 days or less, I can help somebody start a Skool group. And the way that we do that is we pick a subject, we start the community, because starting the community literally takes a minute, literally a minute. You can have a community open and then you build on that community as you go. And the way that you do that is you gather people together for free. You ask them questions that says, What problems are you having? What are your challenges and struggles related to this thing? What can I create for you? And so what that lets you do is you become not a creator, you become a waiter. And a waiter is somebody who goes up to somebody and says, what would you like? They write it down on their little pad, and then they take it back to the kitchen, and then the chef or the cook makes exactly what you want. They bring it to your table, and at the end of the meal, once you've gotten exactly what you want, they give you a bill and you happily pay it. And that's all we're talking about here. A lot of people try to create products or services, and they don't have any proof that the market actually wants those things. They don't have any proof that the market actually wants that. But once you figure out, you gather people together and you say, hey, I'm starting this place. It's completely free. If you're interested in this subject, jump in, learn a bunch, meet some people, and then I'm going to ask you questions along the way about how I could make this community better, how I could help you more. And then out of those people, you're going to have a certain number that are going to raise their hand and they're going to say, yeah, I want more help. And I'm willing to pay you X number of dollars a month to get that help. Now, what this does is this creates really the ultimate business. And this is why I don't believe in selling courses and I don't believe in selling digital products. Because number one, it is a unique offer. It's unique. Why? Because nobody has your specific knowledge. Nobody has been through your specific experiences. Nobody knows what you know. Nobody has gone through the successes and failures exactly how you have. Nobody has the viewpoints. Nobody had the struggles. Nobody had the obstacles that you had to overcome to get to where you are. So you by yourself become a unique offer because you, whether you believe it or not, you have tremendous value to offer other people. Because if you've done something for 1,000 hours, or you've done something where you got a result maybe quicker than 1,000 hours and you learned a bunch from that, or you've read 5 books about something, or you've studied something extensively and maybe you got a degree or maybe you got a certification or something like that, you have valuable knowledge that other people would pay for. So that by itself is what we call a unique offer. So you want something unique because if you're out there trying to compete, selling the same thing that other people are doing, you're trying to sell some crappy ebook or some PDF, or you're trying to sell some crappy knockoff course that's generic and doesn't really help anybody and doesn't have any positive reviews. The only positive reviews are, I sold so many of this course. If that's you, then you're going to have a hard time because there's other people out there that know that the fastest way to sell something is to advertise. And if they either have a larger audience than you or they can buy a larger audience than you through advertising, you lose. But with a unique offer, you don't compete on price because nobody can compare with you and your personal experience. And most of the time, if somebody sees some of your content or you invite them to your group because you answer a question for them somewhere else and they join your group, they're joining for you. Because let's face it, any group, and there's tons of different groups, and there's a lot of groups that teach the same subjects, but there's still tons of them that are filled with people. Why? Because people like different styles or people like different personalities. And so there's always, have you ever heard that saying that there's always somebody out there that only you can reach or that only you can help? Well, that's true because there's people that you jive with and there's people that you don't jive with. But your unique offer is what makes you not a commodity, which means you don't have to compete on price with other people. So, number one, you want something that's unique. Number two, you want something, and this is key, you want something that's recurring. Alex Hormozy, again, the founder of acquisition.com and Gym Launch, and the owner of 6 gyms before he sold them all. He said after he shut down his gym turnaround business, what he did is he sold his software that he had created and said, I'm not going to come out and turn around your gym, but I can sell you software that has all the templates, all the ads, all the everything that we use to fill these gyms up. And somebody said, yeah, I'll pay. And first guy said paid 5,000. Then he raised it to 8,000. Then he raised it to 10,000. And eventually he was selling that software for $40,000 because the average gym owner who bought that software and who went through his program was increasing their gym's revenue by $30,000 in the first month. So if you do that in the first month, a $40,000 piece of software is worth it because you're going to continue to grow and you're going to get massive return on that investment. But he said, if I would have kept most of those people on a $5,000 a month retainer rather than having them pay $40,000 out of pocket all at once. And I would have just kept them on this $5,000 recurring method of delivering the results that they want. He said, I'd already be a billionaire. And right now, he and his wife are, I think they're worth probably, $100 million net worth between the two of them. But he said, if I had done that, then I would already be a billionaire because he understood that the power of recurring income is it gives you flexibility in the other things that you need to do in your business. So you want recurring. That's again why I don't sell courses and I don't advise people sell digital products. You can have a great month or even coaching. You can have a great month or you can have a great 2 months, or maybe you just get one sale and then you wait 5 months for your next sale. That's why if you do something on recurring, then it's up to you to make sure that you provide the value to people that they want to stay. And that's all you have to do. Walt Disney said that. He said the idea is to make something so good that people want to come back and next time they want to bring their friends. And if you create things like affiliate programs, like I just had somebody upgrade to our VIP inside of my community. And she was actually referred by somebody who isn't even in our VIP yet. But the way Skool handles it is that the person who referred them, even though they're not in the VIP program, they can still get affiliate commission for recommending somebody who did upgrade to VIP. And so the person who is not even in VIP yet, if they wanted to get in VIP, based on the affiliate commission that they've already gotten or that they will get from me, guess what? They could afford, I think it's 5 or 6 months of my VIP program with that money. And they could credit it toward 6 months of working with me, almost one-on-one, definitely small group. But you want that recurring income, whether it's recurring yearly or it's recurring monthly. You want that recurring income because that gives you flexibility and it gives you predictability too. Because the worst thing in the world is to be able to get $5,000 in revenue one month and then the next month, zero, because there's no predictability with any of that. And that's a scary way to do business. And that's why most businesses don't make money. Number three, you want something with a low cost. And when I say low cost, I mean low cost to run. And the great thing about a Skool group, because everything that you need with a Skool group is self-contained. All right. You don't even need Zoom. You don't need Google Meet. You don't need a website. You don't need a funnel. You don't need an email follow-up program because Skool does all of that stuff for you. And so you run it probably around a 95 to, I know it sounds crazy, but it's a 95 to probably 99% profit margin because you can start a Skool community for $9 a month. $9 a month. So if you have 100 people, even if you only have 100 people and they're paying, let's say they're paying $15 a month, and it only costs you $9 a month once to run your community, and your community's making $1,500 and it costs you $9 to run your business, that's even better than a a 90. That's at least a 99. I'm not great at math, but that's a 99% return on your investment. That's a 99% profit margin. And that's what you want. You don't want the businesses that get killed are the ones that run on 20% or 10% or even 30% margins, because you can't grow when you're only running on 30% margins. It's very difficult to grow when you're doing that. But you're able to do that with a school group, because even if you upgrade to the pro version of Skool, it's still only $99 a month. But you could start for $9 a month. Why? Because it's a valuable thing. And what they were able to do is they were able to bring the price down by 90% to start with this business. But it's low cost. Now, other businesses are also low cost, but they don't have these other features. They don't offer a unique product and they don't offer recurring income most of the time. And then the last thing you want to do is you want to have what we call a referral flywheel. It's an AF or an AFW, a referral flywheel. And what that means is that people love what you have to offer so much that they recommend it to other people. They recommend it to other people. And if you give them incentive for doing that, financial incentive is usually the best incentive. If you give them a financial incentive that says, hey, if you recommend somebody to my program, I will give you 40% or 30% or 50% in the case of our community, 50% monthly affiliate commissions. So let's give you an example of something that you're probably familiar with, and that would be Netflix. Most people in the United States, um, most adults, have Netflix accounts, right? Some don't, obviously, but a large degree of the United States, in the millions and millions, hundreds of millions probably, have Netflix accounts. What if Netflix sent you a email tomorrow and they said, "Hey, for every single person that you refer to Netflix, we will give you 50% commissions off of your monthly bill for every person you recommend to us." And so if you recommend two people, your Netflix is free. But if you keep recommending people beyond those two people, then you create a separate source of income just for recommending something that you already use. So it is referral based marketing, but it's not like multi level marketing, all right, because it only extends to the first level. But if you recommend somebody and they get a subscription with Netflix, Netflix will give you 50% commission every single month. How often would you do that? Well, you have the ability to do that with Skool. Yet with Skool, you have the ability to choose whether or not you want to give somebody 20%, 30%, 40%, or 50%. That's totally up to you. And I chose 50% because I figure if somebody is responsible for bringing somebody to my community, they should share in the profits. There's an old saying that says if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with others. And I figure if I'm helping people do something and somebody thinks highly enough of what I'm doing that they recommend somebody else to my group, they ought to get a monthly commission for doing that. As a matter of fact, I'm about to post in my community that uh, that this person who is not even in VIP yet is earning a VIP yearly commission because the person who upgraded to VIP took our annual VIP because there's a discount for annual. So they took the annual VIP, and this person who is not even in VIP yet is going to get that commission in her piggy bank, if you will, on Skool. And she doesn't even have her own community yet. And she's going to be earning referral or affiliate commissions from my community. And I think that's pretty cool because I teach people how to start communities, but I also teach people how to get people to affiliate for them. And that's the way that you grow fast, but you grow authentically is you invite people or you attract people, one or the other, and then you also have other people who see the value in what you're doing and they attract and they refer people. And when you have that, you have this affiliate army. So you get 10 times more the value because you have all these people besides yourself recommending your community. And then it grows quicker because it grows exponentially. If you want to have some fun, go into either a computer program or go into AI and say, hey, if I had only X number of people referring 2 people a month to my community, and I was going to give them X dollars per month in commissions, how much, how big could my community grow and how much in affiliate commissions would I pay out? And AI will figure all that out for you. I've done it many times with my own community, and AI will figure all that out for you. And that is a growth strategy rather than guessing how you're going to grow your community. So I'm going to wrap up here. I don't see any additional questions. So I'm going to wrap up here. If anybody has any questions after the fact, if they happen to see this, you can go in the comments. You can leave those questions. I will address them. But it's easier, really, if you take the 3-day challenge and you start your Skool group, which you can do by joining my free community. And the link is here in my bio that you can do that. You probably got a quick preview of that before, but you just go into the community. It's very simple. You go into the link. Now, if you don't have a Skool account yet, you have to go here. Let's go back. So it'll take you here. Okay. Now, I'll take you into like the version. Now, if you don't have a Skool community or if you don't have a Skool account, when you go to join the group, before you get to these questions, it's going to ask you to set one up. It's very easy. You just put a name, email, and your password. And then they'll send you a confirmation email, and then you can log in to Skool. Then from there, it'll take you directly back to this page where you can just answer your best email address. You're not going to get any spam. And did you find us from inside or outside of the Skool platform? And if you found us from outside, which group or which platform did you find us from? And those are just the 2 questions that I ask when everybody who comes in. And so you join the group. And then once you join the group, you can jump inside the community and you can introduce yourself. We've got a start here post that's very simple, doesn't ask a whole lot of you. And you can see some of the other posts that some of the other people have done. You can look at some of our success stories with the wins and all those types of things, like wins and shout outs. You can look and you can see my friend Ray, who in 6 weeks, he got to $1,300 a month. How we are growing this community quickly, all of these different things that you can check out. And all of this is free. So, but more importantly, once you get to level 3, which is only 20 points, so what you do is you interact with other people in the group and each interaction gets you a point. Once you get to 20 points, you unlock this 3-day Skool build. No fluff, no overwhelm, no endless hours of courses, just short posts, easy to read and take action on. And I've gotten some feedback from some people. So I'm going to be making that even better in the days to come. So that's all you do. You just jump in there and you check it out. So I hope you'll do that if you're interested in starting a Skool. I hope you've enjoyed this for whatever period of time you might have watched it. And if you watch this on replay, and I'm going to put this in the comments, but if you watch this on replay, I'm going to suggest that you watch it at 1.5 to maybe even 1.75 speed because you will be able to still retain the information, but you're going to save yourself a lot of time rather than sitting here for almost an hour and watching this. So I hope you've gotten something out of this. I'll be back again tomorrow. Take care. Have a good night.